We're so happy to have Kathy Martin in our accompaniment rotation. She's part of our family now. I'm Peter Amadon. I'm one of the choir directors, and during this time when we don't have a pastor for a few months, we're going to have an interim. We'll have an interim selection committee working on finding an interim sometime this winter, I'm sure. And also, 40 years ago, when I first started coming to this church, when Stephen was born, Shirley Crockett was the pastor, and we never had a bulletin those days. And the worship committee was talking about that, and we say, why don't we once in a while not have a bulletin? And I said, I'll do it. So, and not having a bulletin means is you don't have to worry about anything. Just, I'll just tell you what to do and you do it. I want to thank all the people. I want to thank all the people who are here online or watching our service. I just talked to Pa and Nathan yesterday. They said they'd be watching, and all of our other friends and family. Hello and warm greetings to you. And I'd like to give some special warm greetings to Don and Jenny, Jenny is our niece, Mary Alice's sister's daughter, who is living with us now for 11 months, which is really changed our dynamics for the better in our house. It was getting kind of sleepy in there, and so it's really great. Don is living nearby. And are there any other new people who haven't been here before? Yes.
May I just introduce the congregation? What is it before? My sister Lauren. Is that from North Carolina?
DeLauren?
Lauren.
Oh, great. Welcome. Great. Any other people who are new today? Great. Oh, welcome. What's your name? Odin. How do you do, Odin? Welcome. Great to see. We're really happy that we're happy you're here. We're happy everybody's here. Thank you. So we're going to do I'm going to light the candle, and if you're at home, you can light your own candle right now, and this is a time for silent meditation, and let the light of the Lord enter your souls. I see. Joseph Bruchak is a friend of Mary Alice's and mine. He lives up in western Vermont, or maybe across the lake in New York, somewhere up there. And his mother was an Abenaki, and his father was a Polish logger. And Joseph learned, he just loved the Abenaki stories of his family and his people. And so this is a story I learned from him that I'm going to start the service with. A long time ago, once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there was nothing. And Tabaldak, everybody say Tabaldak. Tabaldak, the great creator, said, I've had enough of nothing, he said, and he took his creation dust and he made the heavens and he made the earth. And he said, I want some rivers, and he scooped out rivers and he put water in there, and there was water flowing in the rivers, and he made trees, and he made all of these different animals, the deer and the moose and the buffalo, and he made all of the people. And as he was doing this, his creation dust was kind of dribbling a little bit out of his hand. He didn't notice, and there was a little pile of creation dust at his feet. And out of that creation dust at his feet created himself a sort of god named Gluskabe. Say that, Gluskabe. He created himself, and Gluskabe stood up and he said, what's all this? And Tabaldak said, that is my sky and my earth and my rivers and my animals. And Gluskabe said, wow, that's wonderful. And Tabaldak said, yes, it is wonderful. And Gluskabe said, well, I want to make something too. And Tabaldak said, And Gluskabe said, I'm going to make the wind. And Tabaldak said, And then Gluskabe made the wind. And the water waves rolled across the water, and the limbs bowed in the wind, and the grass bowed down. And then Tabaldak said, enough, said Tabaldak. I'm going to make the wind. And then Tabaldak made the wind. It was a big crashing wind. It tore the trees out by their roots. It pulled the water out of the rivers. It blew the animals around. Gluskabe said, whoa, he hung on to a rock. The wind blew off his hair. It blew off his eyebrows. Enough, said Gluskabe. And Tabaldak stopped making the wind. And Gluskabe said, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And Tabaldak said, maybe not. And then Tabaldak said, Gluskabe, you go out amongst the people and I'll give you some power, but not too much. To be continued. While you're waiting for the next part of the story, let's sing opening hymn 251 in your blue hymnals. Come, let us sing 251. You can stand if you're able and want to. Yeah.
Praise our God together. Let us sing and praise our God together. Come, let us sing our love and thanks to God. Come, let us sing our love and thanks to God. Let us sing our love and thanks together. Sing and praise our thanks together.
First verse.
Come, let us sing our praises to our God. Come, let us sing our praises to our God. Let us sing and praise our God together. Let us sing and praise our God together.
You may sit. You may be seated. Lord, we gather here grateful for the blessings you shower on us. We thank you for your strength and wisdom and love. We thank you for the angels that hover around us and for the daily miracle of living. Thank you for teaching us the blessedness of fellowship. We know you are with us in the beginning, you are at our side throughout our lives, and you bring us comfort at the end. I'm doing now the prayer of confession. God, our Creator, we confess that we have too often forgotten that we are yours. Sometimes we carry on our lives as if there was no God at all, and we fall short of what we could be. For this, we ask forgiveness. Give us clear minds and open hearts so we may live every day, every moment of every day, in loving relationship with you and with others. Let's have a time of silence. Friends, hear the good news. Life is good. The past is over and gone. The future is open. We are free to live in love, in forgiveness. We are free to live in the newness of life. Thanks be to God. The choir is going to do their first anthem, and it's the Vineyard. And maybe, Stefan, you can just tell a little bit about where this is from.
Sure. And the choir can come gather while I do that.
Use the mic.
So this is a song that Zara and I sang back in 2005, the year we met. And it was on a Northern Harmony tour. And it's taking it's from a primitive Baptist hymn back from 1913, which took a 1844 composition called "The Church's Desolation," and it took not quite as stark lyrics as that one had, and added there was alternate words. And so we're going to sing this, Zara and I, first, sort of Appalachian-y style, and then we'll kick into the shape note version. Here in the Vineyard.
Here in the vineyard of my Lord, I hope to live and labor and be obedient to my God until my dying hour.
I love to see the lilies grow and view them all standing in the right place while here below, just as the Lord commanded.
We oftentimes meet both night and day, a faithful band of pilgrims. We read, we sing, we preach and pray, and find the Lord most precious.
But while we sing the song of love, our hearts are deeply wounded. Perhaps we all will meet no more here in a congregation.
So we have Jacob, and we have Bonnie, we have Catherine, we have Odin, and we have Desmond, we have Stefan, and we have Vera.
Hasn't it been for the last 3 weeks that there hasn't been any kids?
That's true. There haven't been any current children for a couple of weeks, but now we're loaded up. It's fantastic. So let's see if anybody remembers anything about what happened between Tabaldak and Gluskabe in the story I told in the beginning, because this is the second part of that story. Anybody remember? Go ahead. Here.
I remember that. Who was the creator of everything?
Tabaldak.
I remember that Tabaldak did not do good creating the wind.
Gluskabe was the one who did it. Tabaldak was the big god, but I made a mistake. It was Gluskabe.
Gluskabe didn't create the wind too well because he blew up half the things that he created.
Then you do mean Tabaldak. I'm sorry. Forgive me. He does mean Tabaldak because he blew up half the things he created, as you said. Wow. That's fantastic. That's one of the things I'm going to be talking about today is how much we can learn from children about stories that we never would have thought of. And that is a new interpretation for me, and I appreciate that very much. So I'll just continue with the story. So Gluskabe, the one who created himself out of creation dust and sort of a kind of par combination God-man, Gluskabe went to live with his grandmother Woodchuck. Everybody say that. Grandmother Woodchuck. And he loved to go hunting. Gluskabe loved to go hunting. One day he picked up his bow and his arrow and he went into the forest and he looked for rabbits and he looked for deer and he went, whoa, no, nothing there. Whoa! No, nothing there. And he was out there for the longest time and he didn't find anything at all. And he finally grew disgusted and he went back into his home with Grandmother Woodchuck and he threw down his bow and he threw down his arrow. He says, I hate this. Grandmother Woodchuck, make me a game bag. Now, game is an old word that means if you're going to go kill an animal to eat them, they call them game. So that's what it means. So a game bag is when you go hunting, that's what you put the animals in, your game bag. Said, make me a game bag. So she made him a beautiful game bag out of deer fur. And she gave it to him, and it was really smooth and lovely. And he said, that's not good enough. He threw it down. Make me another one. So she made him a game bag out of moose fur. It was much bigger, and it was a little rougher, and it was stronger. And he just said, yeah, no. And he threw it down and he said, make me another one. And so she made him a game bag out of caribou fur. And it was big and it had beads on it and it was gorgeous. And he took it and he looked at the beads and he looked inside it and he said, no, this is not good enough. And she said, how am I ever going to make a game bag that's good enough for you? He said, Grandmother Woodchuck, make me a game bag out of woodchuck fur. So she went picked out all the little furs out of her belly, and she made a little small game bag out of woodchuck fur, out of her own woodchuck fur. And she gave it to him, and he looked at it and he said, that's the game bag I want. And because he knew it was a magic game bag that could hold as many things as you put in it. And he went out and he had a great idea. He just left his bow on the floor, he left his arrow on the floor, and he went out with his game bag. And he went out deep into the woods and he said, hey, all you animals, come up and listen. I have terrible news. And as you know, everybody loves to hear terrible news. So they all came close to hear what the terrible news was. And he said, here's what it is. The sun is going to go out and the world is going to be destroyed and all of you are going to be destroyed with it. And all the animals howled and cried in fear and they didn't know what to do. And they said, what should we do? Well, he said, there is one safe place where you won't die, in my little game bag. Oh, yes, they said. And the squirrels ran in and the other animal, what are the other animals? Some other animals. The deer. And
Foxes.
the what?
Foxes.
Foxes ran in. Yeah? Possums ran. All the animals of the world. When those gates got bigger and bigger, and when all the animals of the world were in his game bag, he said yes, and he tied it up and he put it over his shoulder and he carried it back and he brought it into his grandmother Woodchuck. He said, "Look what I've got! Look what I've got! Well, I'll never be hungry again, Grandmother Woodchuck." And she said, "What have you done?" He said, "I got all the animals in the world in the magic game bag." She says, "Oh, Glooscabby," she said. "Oh, Glooscabby. We'll have food to eat for a while, but after a while, there won't be any more animals, and we won't have any food, and there won't be food for our children, and there won't be food for our children's children. And anyway, it's good for you to go hunting. It makes you strong, and it makes you wise, and it's good for the animals to run from you. It makes them quick, and it makes them spry." "Oh, Glooscabby," she said. And Glooscabby realized that once again he'd made a mistake. He said, "Okay." So he picked up the game bag and he put it on his shoulder and he went way back out into the woods again and he put it down and he opened it up and he thought for a while and he said, "Hey, all you animals in there, listen up. The sun was destroyed and the sun went out and the world was destroyed. It was really miserable. It was just awful. But I got the sun going again and I fixed up the world and it's going to be okay, so you can come out now." So all the animals came out. What were they? The fox, the deer, everybody. What were they? The fox, the deer, the raccoons. They all came running out. And they were all back in the woods and the world was back in balance again. The world was back in balance again, all because Glooscabby listened to the advice of his grandmother Woodchuck. And that's the end of that story. Thanks to Joseph Bruchac, and thanks to the Abenaki people for their incredible stories. That's one of many, many stories. Joseph Bruchac has collections of stories, and he's my favorite storyteller of this area of Native Americans. And he's a wonderful man, and his children also tell stories. He's my age, and his children are my children's age. So let's have a prayer. Thank you for children. Thank you for learning lessons. Thank you for the wisdom of children. We can't get enough of that. It's often surprising and always wonderful. And thank you for whatever we can do to take care of the world. Amen.
Amen.
And now the children are going to stay here while we sing our next hymn, and then you can go down when the hymn is over. And I've got it right here. 445, "Be Thou My Vision." And after the hymn is over, the children can go downstairs. You can stand if you are able, if you want to.
Be
be seated, and Stefan will be reading the scripture for us. And thank you, children. You can go downstairs now.
Our first reading comes from Exodus chapter 16, verses 2 through 15. The whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I am going to rain bread from heaven for you, and each day the people shall go out and gather enough for that day. In that way, when I will test them, whether they will follow my instruction or not. On this sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather on other days." So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "In the evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your complaining against the Lord. For what are we that you complain against us?" And Moses said, "When the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and your fill of bread in the morning, because the Lord has heard the complaining that you utter against him, what are we? Your complaining is not against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the whole congregation of the Israelites, 'Draw near to the Lord, for he has heard your complaining.'" And as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the Israelites, they looked toward the wilderness, and the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, "I have heard the complaining of the Israelites. Say to them, 'At twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall have your fill of bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God.'" In the evening, quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a fine flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat." The second reading is from Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 through 16. "For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. When he went out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right.' So they went. When he went out again about noon, and about 3 o'clock, he did the same. And about 5 o'clock he went out and found others standing around, and he said to them, 'Why are you standing here idle all day?' They said to him, 'Because no one has hired us.' He said to them, 'You also go into the vineyard.' When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, 'Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last, and then go to the first.' When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received the usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, 'These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of that day and the scorching heat.' But he replied to one of them, 'Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me, or are you envious because I am generous?' So the last will be first, and the first will be last." May God add his blessing to this holy word.
Write these words in our hearts, receive thee, O Lord.
Storytelling has been a really important part of my life. When I first went to church as a kid, I went to a congregational church, first congregational church in Great Barrington with my parents. My dad was a deacon. At one point, my mom was a secretary of the church. which of course means she ran the church, and especially because it was my mom. But whenever I'd be there, I would most of the sermons I would just kind of count how many words they said a minute. That was my kind of main thing I did during the sermons, unless they told a story. And whenever anybody told the story, it was like, whoa! It was just there. Sometimes someone who was a missionary would come and they'd tell the story about their mission. They'd tell this amazing story about these big birds they saw flying. I remember one story about these huge birds that he saw, and I would just be completely in awe, and the time went by really fast. And so I became a storyteller professionally, and that is that I studied storytelling, I went to conferences, and I told story in my work with children a lot, folk tales mostly. So I'm making storytelling one of the themes of the service. And here's a little story for you, and one of the really oldest stories from Aesop. So this heron, it was the morning, and she walked with her big, thin legs into the edge of the pool to have her food for the day, and it was the morning time, and she saw these beautiful big fish going by, and she thought, I'm not really hungry yet. I'm not going to bother eating any of those fish. And the hours went by, and she just was looking around, and then it was about noon, and she got a little bit hungry, and she said, well, maybe I'll have something to eat now. And this small little trout went by. She said, oh, it's just a little trout. I'm sure some bigger fish will go by. I'm not going to bother eating that little thing. But no bigger fish did go by, because as the sun warmed the surface of the pond, the fish swam down to enjoy the coolness of the water down at the bottom of the pond, and no more big fish came by, no more little fish came by, and she got hungrier and hungrier, and finally she got so hungry that she had her only meal of the day, which was just a tiny snail. Now, at the end of the Aesop's fables stories, you probably know it's customary to give a one-phrase summary of the moral of the story. And in the heron, I found this ancient little one-line thing they put at the end of the story, and it goes like this: "He that will not when he may, when he will, he shall have nay." And I thought, I better do that one again. So see if you can get it. He that will not when he may, when he will, he shall have nay. But I'm kind of thinking, how about just don't wait? How about that? And because don't wait actually has been one of my mantras for my whole life, and as I kind of grow into the era of frequent urination, it becomes more important. Don't wait. But I've never really liked these. I've never really, even all the time from the beginning, I was kind of annoyed by these little moralizations. I know what that means. You don't have to tell me. It's like, I know. It's just, even though, as we learned from Desmond this morning, that it might not be at all what I thought it meant, but that's what I always felt like. I don't need that little thing at the end. And so I was really pleased when about 30 years ago, I was taking a storytelling course from a wonderful storyteller named Laura Sims. Laura Sims. She was, and I learned so much from her, and I loved her storytelling so much. She told folk tales, sometimes these epic folk tales where there's a story inside a story, ancient stories. And here's what she said about this. She said, after you finish telling a story to children, don't ask them what the moral is. Just say something like, what was the scariest part of the story? What was the funniest part of the story? What was the saddest moment for you when I told that story? And those answers will generate ideas and generate questions. And when they do ask you a question about the story, if they ask, for example, they might say, why was Grandmother Woodchuck's fur, why did that make a game bag that was magic and the other ones were not magic? And what you might say back to that is you might say, well, what do you think? And just get some more wisdom from the children. It's free wisdom. It's great. And they will, I think that Jesus would have loved taking that storytelling course with Laura Sims. He probably could have taught a few of the lessons, I'm sure. But I'm sure he would have loved that part, what she said about not finding a moral in a story, because his parables, as several people have said before, this is a whole parable era we're in right now, the year of the parable for the Guilford Church. The parables he told just have so many different interpretations. About 25 years ago, Noreen Carter, who was our pastor for about a year here, Noreen Carter told the prodigal's son, the prodigal's return, and after she told it, she had us all get into about 7 different groups and go into different parts of the church and have a really substantial discussion about it. It wasn't just where you were sitting. It was really like, well, let's chase it 15 minutes, and we're gonna talk about this story. And they all did that, and we all came back, and there were just 7, more than 7, because there were different people in each group. There were so many different interpretations of that story, and some like for example, Desmond saying Tabaldak tore apart his world that he just created. Some of them were really surprising to me, really surprising, quite wonderful. I remember particularly about some people really thinking a lot about the elder brother, if you know the story, the elder brother who stayed faithfully home and was angry when his younger brother got so much attention after he had been so irresponsible. Jesus was a consummate storyteller. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. When Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like, it's a kind of a sign that he's beginning to tell a story. And you know that it's probably a story that didn't actually happen, and it's a story that's going to have some truth in it. 2 really interesting things side by side. Jesus' parables are teaching stories that make one rather say, oh, I know what that means. They tend to make one wonder. They make you wonder. They make you ponder. They make you question. And even though Jesus sometimes appears to suggest an explanation at the end of his parables, often that explanation just muddles the waters of understanding. For example, in today's parable that Stephen read so beautifully, of the landowner who pays each of the workers the same amount no matter what time they arrived, Jesus has the landowner respond to the workers' complaints with, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." To which I say, what? It's like, what? That doesn't really help me, Jesus. Thanks a lot. I've always been befuddled by this particular parable. I like to be on time. I don't like to be late. I sometimes get annoyed when other people are late. I know it's my problem, and I think folks should be paid fairly and on time for their work. But as I was thinking about this and getting ready for today's service, I thought more and more about his once upon a time, which is, in his case, the kingdom of heaven is like. My dear lifelong friend from high school, Anna Meyer, who we were so close, we called each other sister and brother. I always called her my sister, and she called me my brother, her brother. She once asked me in an email, she wrote me an email I told her about how much I was getting involved in the church, and this was years ago, and she wrote back, and she just didn't, she had a really completely understandable opinion about church, just from, we've all seen what you read in the news and what church has done to some people, and she just said, why, my brother Peter, why do you go to church? And I wrote back to her, I go to church to practice loving different kinds of people. I just practice loving people. That's what I do. But today I'm thinking more broadly about what church is about. Could we be practicing for the kingdom of God? As I mentioned, Mary Alice and I first went to church in 1984. We started coming here when Stephen was born and Sam was 3. There was a church council then, but we didn't go to the council meetings. There were fundraisers, but we didn't go to them to eat or to help. Larry Crockett led the choir at Advent and Christmas and Lent and Easter, but we didn't We didn't join the choir in the beginning. And here's what else did not happen. Larry Crockett saying to us, "You two are professional singers. Why don't you join the choir? What, do you think you're too good for us?" This did not happen. Wilma Higgins saying, "We had our fundraising sugar and snow supper last night at the firehouse, and you didn't come to help. You didn't even come to eat." This did not happen. Paula Richardson saying, "You two, Mary Alice and Peter, you're professional educators. You work with children all the time, and you send your kids downstairs and you never ask even to help out with Sunday school." She never said that. What did happen, that when we first started going to church, Larry said to us, "We are so glad you're here." Wilma Higgins, Paula Richardson, they said to us, "We are so glad you're here." Shirley Crockett said to us, "We are so glad you're here." Of course, later on, we got great joy singing in the choir, and we went to the first time we went to a sugar supper, I went as a volunteer, and I was pouring coffee, and it was just a wonderful fellowship, and I started to really more deeply get to know the members of the church. And one day, Shirley Crockett, I don't know, it was some specific issue, Shirley invited me to a council meeting. I'd never been to one before, and it was a revelation to see what was going on behind the doors of just the daily worship. And I started learning how much more the church was than the Sunday services, and it was pretty wonderful. So now, here's my new understanding of the parable of the landlord and the vineyard worker. The kingdom of heaven is like a number of souls of various ages from various walks of life who come together regularly to figure out what life is about and what death is about. These people work towards loving each other unconditionally. They work on loving even people they find annoying. There is work to be done. The work is done. There is no jealousy about who is doing what. There is no comparing. For some of these souls, their contribution is simply coming to church. These souls deserve and receive the same love as those who do the work of the church. This community of souls aspires to do God's will on earth as it is in heaven. Is there a heaven? I don't know. But maybe this, right here in this room, maybe this is the kingdom of heaven. Amen. Oh, this is the second anthem, and it's going to be instead of with the choir, it's going to be a Amadon Maynard Bodie anthem with Jenny and Mary Alice, and should go get the kids. Oh yeah, and of course Desmond and Vera will be coming up, and so come on up, and we'll just. This is a song called "We Are Almost Home." Sing them charming. Everybody say, "Sing them charming bells." Sing them charming bells. Sing, and we learned this from Sweet Honey in the Rock, which is a group that grew out of the civil rights singing, the wonderful singing part of the civil rights movement in the 60s. And then some of those folks who were a very important part of that started the African American women's group, Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's an old spiritual, but we learned it from their style of singing. And so we're just going to sing it, and what you do is you do whatever you want, which is your charge for this whole service. But if you feel like singing with us, that's perfectly fine. It's pretty easy. Yay. Hit it, kid.
Come along, sisters, come along.
Come along, sisters, come along. Come along, sisters, come along. Ring them charming bells. We are almost home. We are almost home. We are almost home. Ring them charming bells.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Fred for doing the prayers.
Well, this is our time in the service to settle into our pews and think of all of those people and situations that need God's comfort and healing. Many more than we could ever name, even more than we can ever think about. But we will lift up the names of those most on our minds today. So I invite you.
Jill Harness.
For Jill Harnish.
Cindy Bean and Dan Hertzler. Cindy Bean.
Cindy
Dan
Bean.
Hertzler.
Cindy Bean and Dan Hertzler. I'm going to turn my hearing aids back on here. Sorry.
My son
Still not there. There we go. Sorry?
Son Jeremy Berman.
Jeremy Berman, your son.
Allison, who's having surgery on Wednesday.
Allison having surgery on Wednesday. Done?
Emily Gerasi.
Emily Gerasi.
Larry Crockett.
Larry Crockett.
And
Yep.
sister, Katie and Ellen, as they plan Savannah's.
And Katie and Ellen. Yeah, not that.
Joyce Larson.
Joyce Larson.
Mary Lila Gregg.
Mary Lila Gregg.
Maria.
Mary Alice.
Maria.
Maria. And
And praise for the family of Doug Hamilton.
the family of Doug Hamilton. And with all of those concerns and that we have, there are also joys that we carry with us. It's important to have joy along with the sorrow. Any joys? Karen?
Yesterday was so amazing, and I want to thank everyone who helped.
Yesterday's Sacred Heart remembrance of Tony Barrand and Larry Gordon.
Gratitudes for Carol Crompton for creating yesterday.
Gratitude for Carol Crompton for creating yesterday. Larry.
I want to be being grateful for this coming Tuesday will be my last final radiation.
Joy that Catherine will finish radiation on Tuesday. Okay.
Congratulations for Kathy Martin's wonderful piano.
For Kathy Martin being with us today. Thank you. Wonderful to have you here. Terry?
And for the Amadon family being such a wonderful part of this church.
And for the Amadon family. Thank you, Peter, for your message. That was wonderful.
Just grateful for stories.
For stories. Donovan?
Nancy Ray will have something to say.
Okay, Nancy.
Thank you for our wonderful choir.
Thank you for the choir who's making visits to people in their homes. Great. So with
My sister Lori and for family visitors and reunions after a long time. And for the Fairy House Festival that we enjoyed yesterday in Grafton.
a lot of things there for family reunions and visits and Fairy House event in Grafton. Yes, there were a lot of things going on today, many of which were quite wonderful and great joy. Let's take all of those concerns, all of those joys, and wrap them together and say the prayer that Jesus taught us, using whatever words bring the meaning most to you. Our Father, our Mother, our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
Okay.
Hear our prayer, O Lord. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Incline thy ear to us, and grant us thy peace.
Not yet. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot preach like Paul, you can tell the love of Jesus. You can say he died for all. If you cannot give your thousands, you can give the widow's mite, for the least you do for Jesus will be precious in his sight. It's time for our daily offertory. church and in the wider world. Amen.
Amen.
Pass the peace.
Peace be with you. Peace of God be with you. Thank you. Peace with you, my friend.
While you're passing the peace, the choir can start to work their way up here for our final hymn.
Have you with us?
Oh, why don't you just sing while you're doing the candle? Okay, so you go down and get ready to do the candle. Choir. Oh, no, oh, you do, that's right. Oh, let's get someone else to do it.
Yes, come up, choir.
Are you singing? This is hymn 439. The verses might not be exactly what is in the hymnal. I didn't check, but we're kind of leading it here. So go open. You don't have to really even open your hymnals because you'll know the words. Just sing along with us. Every time I feel the Spirit, a wonderful African American spiritual. Oh yes, yeah, and let's make an opening for Lee to come through because he's got to put out. So in the middle. Oh, Lee and Fred, they got to come through and put out the lights while we're singing. So.
It makes a big room for that too.
Bass, tenor, alto, treble. 1, 2.
Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray.
On the mountain, my Lord spoke, and it followed and it spoke. Lord, around me, it looks so fine, till I asked, Lord, it was mine.
Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray.
Jordan River is chilly and cold. It chills the body, but not the soul. There ain't but one train upon this track. It runs to heaven and runs right back.
Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray.
Down in the valley when I was weak, it's when the devil usually speaks, because he's crafty and full of lies. I need the Spirit to keep me wise. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. I will pray. I will
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face to you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you. It's time for announcements.
Big party tonight, everybody come.
I'll do that. So 5 to 8. And the really good news is going to be really a memorable night because it's going to rain probably, which is fantastic. We're very happy about that. We have tents set up and it's going to just add so much of the ambiance of the event. So you have to really come. 5 to 8. And it's Zara Bodie's little big band will be playing, which is not to be missed.
The small choir project has been continuing, and I just wanted to let everyone know that we welcome any new singers who want to join, and if you would like to get your name on the list, please speak to me. It's very fun. This week after church, we went to sing with Mary Lila, who's in hospice, and a group went to Tom and Nancy's on Thursday. I wasn't able to go, but I hear it was wonderful, so please let me know if you'd like to join us.
So the book sale is only 2 weeks away. Look at some of the amazing books that you might want to buy at the book sale. And the good news is you can start bringing your books that you no longer want, that I've already read, and leave them at the church here starting next Sunday, right after church. You can leave them in the nursery area, and then all week we'll be putting them out Thursday afternoon and Friday. I've got a great crew who's going to help, but we need shoppers more than anything because there are going to be some great books, and we don't want them all to just go away afterwards. We want to sell them all. So please spread the word. Please bring your books next Sunday, and it'll be a great event. Thanks.
I'm Connie Green, don't speak too quickly. We have a new issue of Hoverings, which is our quarterly newsletter, and you already have it probably in your email inbox. It's a link that Deborah puts in there, and if you click on the link, you can read the entire issue with color photos online. There are a few printed copies in the back, and if you want a paper copy, just let Deborah know, and she will make you one.
Hi, I'm Carol, and I'm a deacon, and the deacons are working on updating the name tags that we all wear. We've been asking you to wear them, and today, if you could put them back on the thing, I'm going to collect them all and work with getting a new name tags made for. And if you haven't got one, please talk to me, and I'll write your name down and make one for you too. Thank you.
Birthdays. What do we have for birthdays in the last? Wow. Oh yeah. Okay.
My sister-in-law, Nancy Crompton.
Nancy Crompton, Carol's sister-in-law, Elizabeth.
Talk like a pirate day.
My brother Stephen's birthday is the 27th.
Elizabeth's brother Stephen. Yeah. Well, let's just sing out for those. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Odin's birthday was last week.
Oh great, Odin. Happy birthday to Odin. Great. Yes.
Elizabeth Tannenbaum was last Wednesday.
Elizabeth Tannenbaum. Pardon? Oh, 70. The big. Did you say? 77. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. A beautiful number. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? No. Happy birthday, we love you. Happy birthday, and may all your dreams come true. When you blow out the candle, one light stays aglow. It's a love light in your eyes wherever you go. So after Kathy plays the postlude, you're all invited to come downstairs for we're calling it Fellowship for All Ages, I think is pretty close, something like that. Yeah, we've been working on the name of this thing downstairs. It used to be, it was coffee hour. For a very short time, it was happy hour, and but now we've decided on Fellowship for All Ages. So thank you, Kathy.